Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
I'm Sabib.
And I'm Linz.
And this is Cinema Worms Podcast. In the history of the Academy Awards, only 9 women have been nominated for the Best Director Oscar. Today we're going to be talking about Until Dawn. Directed by David F. Sandberg, who wrote and directed Lights Out as a no-budget short before it was picked up for a feature film in 2016, Sandberg went on to direct one of the Annabelle films, as well as Shazam, and its sequel, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Until Dawn script was written by Gary Doberman, who wrote the Conjuring Universe films, which include both Annabelle's, 2018's The Nun, as well as co-writing Stephen King's It films. Doberman co-wrote Until Dawn with Blair Butler, who wrote the short film Polaroid and the 2022 film The Invitation, which we saw in cinemas. Until Dawn is a survival horror based on the video game of the same name, but it features a standalone story in that universe instead of following the plot of the game. So this particular plot revolves around Clover, a stupid name, played by... it was really frustrating. Played by Ella Rubin, who you might have seen already in quite a few things, including Liz Hannah's The Girl from Plainville, or side characters in the films The Idea of You, which starred Anne Hathaway, or Oscar winner from this year, Honora, by Sean Baker. And Clover's sister Melanie disappeared a year ago after the death of their mother, leaving Clover to pretty much fend for herself. Now, Clover is determined to find her sister, and so she has tracked down the last place that her sister was seen alive, which is a grocery store just outside of the obviously and terribly named, in a similar vein, Glore Valley. She has 3 friends with her, one of whom is her ex-boyfriend, Max, plus a new boyfriend of one of those friends, and very long story short, they end up isolated in a creepy guest house, where one of them signs the name in the guest book, and the group are almost all immediately murdered to absolute death by a masked, slow-walking weirdo in big boots. It's pretty much your standard, typical slasher fare, except this happens about 20 minutes in, and everyone is dead. A short film, you might think, but no. Until Dawn is a Groundhog Day horror, which means all the characters now get resurrected and killed repeatedly until they can find out how to escape the horrible house. But there is a time limit, because no one who's written their name in the guest books seems to have lasted beyond like 13 resurrections before becoming one with the dark. Because the masked guy is not the only problem out there. There are other monsters lurking in the dark. There was one specifically we only ever see like a tiny bit of, and I was really gutted that we didn't get to see more of that, the thing in the mist.
Yes, so they will be absorbed into the night.
Yes, they will become one with it, but not in like a fun Elvira kind of way, but like in a gross little, I'm growing extra teeth and there's stuff coming out of my back way.
Yep. So I had no idea what this film was about. Didn't even know it was based on a video game. Barely knew what that video game was. And I wasn't really going to see it. But then you like sort of were like, nudge, nudge. Oh, you should come. And,
it was the Shazam thing, I think, that swayed you.
Well, okay. It was really the It thing that swayed
okay.
me.
Well, you were swayed either way.
Because now that guy in Shazam is an RFK Jr. Trump boy. So we don't talk about Shazam anymore.
Much like Charlie Puth, we don't talk anymore about Levinson.
But yeah,
Zachary Levi.
I do, yeah. I do like the first Shazam, and I really like it. So that clued me in. I was like, okay, well, some good people were involved in this. I have no idea what it's about, but let's go. And then as the plot was unfolding, at first I was kind of... skeptical. I'm like, what are all these youths doing here? Why are they so young?
They are very young.
Why have I gotten older? This is unfair. I don't like this.
Okay, so Until Dawn was bringing up some existential dread for you, was it?
Yeah. All beautiful and silly, looking for this missing girl. I'm like, obviously bad things are going to happen to you. But it actually turned out to be really, really fun. I super enjoyed this film. It's a slasher, but also with these like sly elements of comedy and some creativity and strangeness that we love a Groundhog Day story.
I
think
do
both
love
of
a
us.
Groundhog. Oh my
Always.
God, I do.
It always works. It's
In
always
any
brilliant.
genre,
Yeah.
but we don't see it often in horror. And I think as we were leaving this film, I said to you, I can think of a couple of others like Happy Death Day or something like that, where you do get this sort of same element, but we don't see it very often in other genres. And I would love to see more. Like I would love to see like a thriller or some. I've seen it done in sci-fi as well, which has been quite interesting. But it's yeah, there's something about that trope that keeps me coming back for more. Ironically.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, I liked all the actors at first. I was skeptical because I'm just like, oh yeah, they just look like a bunch of like teeny boppers, as you would
Teeny bop.
say.
The fact that you use the word teeny bopper suggests
Actually,
your
something my
age.
sister tends to say. I don't know
You're
why I said it.
you're an old woman
Oh
now.
God. And yeah, they were great. I know the one. Okay, so one of them is Michael Cimino or something. He was in this show. I haven't seen it yet. It's called Love Victor, and I've been meaning to watch it. It's based on Love Simon.
Oh, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And one of them is in, and I actually, this shows my age as well, and I hate to say this, one of them was in a Saved by the Bell reboot. A phrase that I never wanted to say and have now said on air.
Oh God. Yeah, they were all really good. Actually, I thought that you think, oh, these are not going to be interesting characters, cookie cutters. Their dynamics are going to be boring, and really, they had some really interesting group dynamics and commentary on friendship and how you like persevere and face your fears.
So I think I agree there. I thought it was quite interesting. I did say to you on the way home that there were a couple of tricks that I felt were missed in this film. One of them I won't talk about because it would spoiler the ending, but one of them I do want to talk about. So the new boyfriend of one of those friends, his name is Abe, and they make a big deal of him at the start being a psych major. And he offers his opinion on why going on this trip for Clover actually might be doing more damage to her psyche, and rather than like getting over it and having some therapy and accepting like that her sister is maybe not just disappeared but is maybe dead and is gone because it's some sort of displacement from like losing her mother. She's not really dealt with either thing properly, and she's also tried to self-harm as well. So there's a lot of like, hey, this girl actually has trauma and do we think this is the best thing for her? And there was something there that was kind of it. And I wish that once the stuff had started happening in the house, that they had each brought their own knowledge from based on whatever they do, and that he had brought something there from his studies and been able to say like, okay, well, psychologically, like the fear is controlling us and this is how we can kind of combat it, or like this is how we dig deep and do these things. And instead he actually felt like the weakest link of them, not in terms of his acting but his character, because he is not part of the initial friend group. He's only been going out with this girl for like 3 months. He doesn't have the same ties, so this does allow him to say sensible things like, no, we should actually go and get the car and try to get the hell out of here. Whereas the others are like, but we can't leave each other. And he's like, well, yeah, no, we definitely can. Which, makes him a bit more sympathetic and logical compared to the rest. But it also then gives him realm to be a bit more selfish as well. But I would have liked to have seen something that had been played up in literally the first couple of minutes as being a big part of his character actually means something. And again, with these films, you never know whether maybe they had that and it was cut. Maybe it was a studio note that you're trimming the fat and they were like, just get it down. I would really like to know, because we've seen The Invitation, and I think I had some similar thoughts on that as well. That again, it was a really cool premise and it just didn't quite do everything in a really satisfying way for me. I remember you liked The Invitation more than I did, I think.
Yeah, it was fun.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, it was 2022.
I like this one. Yeah, I like this one more.
Yeah. And I believe that like the game had very mixed reviews. It was kind of screwed over a little bit because it had been meant to tie in with like essentially PlayStation were doing like how the Wii used to have like this motion sensor. The PlayStation were doing something like that, and so you were going to get to point at things on the screen and like do like interactivity with some stuff, and it was going to be like, and then they kind of discontinued that product, so it had to be remade into like choices you could make through QuickTime events, I believe, turning it into something they called the butterfly effect. But instead of having that interactivity, and I think that like the game had quite mixed reviews because of that, but like I don't think that's really all their fault because they were kind of screwed over. But I really like the idea of it. I think it's fun. I'm glad you came to see it as well.
Yes.
You know, we don't always do that well with blind films, unfortunately.
I was about to be like,
It's not.
I was right.
No,
I get.
it's
no,
not
but
another
it was,
Love Hurts. It's not.
No,
Don't
no,
you dare.
It was really.
Don't you dare.
It was really. I'm so glad that I decided to see it because I was being so skeptical. So it reminded me of like The Cabin in the Woods.
It did have some of those vibes.
Yeah, it's what's inside. And remember Totally Killer we saw with Kieran and
Yes,
Shipka?
I like that. That was the other one I was
Amazon
thinking of as well. That
2023. Yeah.
it's not the same, but it's got similar kind of vibes.
Time travel-y.
Yes, and also let me say that I did think, like, for the first 20 minutes I was like watching you thinking like, if you clock that it's going to be a Groundhog Day, because I know you don't like it when there's a lot of pointless deaths and you get a chance to kind of identify with, you know, characters. And I was like, oh man, you're going to divorce me if this is a second Love Hurts in the first like quarter of the year. I'm so divorced. But we made it, listeners. We made it okay. We're still married. It's all good.
No, but Linz has a good track record because I sometimes don't even look up the film before we go. And
I think that's just you being foolishly trusting.
Yes. You know, where that, yeah, it works out really well sometimes.
Okay.
So we're going to be discussing Penguin Lessons, which is a niche film we just saw, a little odd one. And
in some ways, one could say that it's also horror.
Not at all. It's literally...
I will argue. I will argue my point. Feel good when people are being disappeared. You know what? Let's
actually
get to
no.
it.
You're right. There are horrific undertones to the gentle dramedy.
Okay,
tone,
we will get into that. But sorry, I'm so sorry. Do your
which
intro.
works in interesting ways, and I liked it. Okay, so this is based on a memoir by the same name about a teacher in the 1970s called Tom Michel. He is an English itinerant, disillusioned teacher. He's teaching in various places across the world. And first scene, he shows up in this fancy boys' school in Argentina called St. George's, just as a military coup is happening. And he seems like a little bit like, oh God, why did that bomb just go off? Oh well.
He seems supremely unbothered by the politics of the region.
Yeah. Doesn't give a flip. And he...
Not a single hoot.
Yeah, he sort of settles in. He doesn't give a hoot. He settles into this school, like, cool. I'm going to use my Spanish, teach a little English, read a newspaper if the boys are acting up in class. I don't give a fuck. So then you kind of see him going about his life, being a sort of miserable person. This hilarious, what is he, Norwegian teacher?
He's Finnish.
Finnish? Oh, yeah, very close though. Finnish. I knew it was wrong. Finnish teacher is trying to befriend him, and he keeps ignoring him. And through a very odd series of events, which you have to see the film to understand, he goes on vacation to Uruguay with the weird physics teacher and meets up with this woman, and they talk all night. And then they find this penguin on the beach covered in oil. And then she's like, you have to save it, the penguin.
And of course, as one does, when one finds a penguin in front of a woman one is trying to sleep with, one has to save the penguin.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, it's dead, oh well. She's like, no, it's not.
It's still moving. And he's like, no, it's dead.
It's dead, oh well, let's go. So then, through a hilarious series of hijinks, he ends up stuck with the penguin, and he brings it back to Argentina. And also there's a sort of whole military fascist situation happening, tens of thousands of people being disappeared, and uncanny sort of things that we can relate to in our own political world
unfortunately,
that were disturbing me. But you see him basically befriending this penguin, and the students finding out he has a secret penguin and sort of falling in love with it. And you find out about things that have broken Tom Michel's heart in the past and his own traumas, and how falling in love with this penguin heals him and perhaps all of Argentina.
It's worth noting that he tries to give the penguin a really terrible English name to begin with, and then eventually is corrected that the penguin should be called something better, and it's Juan Salvador.
Oh yeah, Juan Salvador.
So I did not really care for this film. I knew about 50 minutes in that I didn't like it, and I actually considered leaving because I was like, I'm not going to like this. There were some funny bits. It was tonally all over the place. You cannot have the disappearances of I'm Still Here, along with like this sort of fun like Ring of Bright Water-esque look at my funny pet at the same time. I felt like I've seen it's Steve Coogan, isn't it?
Yes,
I've done
Steve
a lot of I've seen a lot of his work, and I liked him a lot in other things. This was just, I felt like it was miscast. I just didn't like it. It was edited a little weirdly. The jokes were not that funny. I was really struggling to like it. And it felt like two completely different films being squashed together, but like in a very odd kind of sandwich, where the top part of the roll is like a Subway, and the bottom part of it is like an eclair. It felt very wrong. They're both cakey, but it felt very wrong to me.
I forgot to mention this is directed by the director of The Full Monty.
Well,
Peter
you know,
Castaneda.
he's gone downhill because that was a cracker of a film.
Well, are you done? Okay. Yeah, no, I liked it more than that. And I could see if you're in a certain mood, someone was in a mood.
I wasn't in a
You were
mood.
in a mood. You were like, penguins. I hate penguins.
I quite like penguins, actually. I've nothing against. How dare you bring up me and my nemesis, the penguin, on this podcast? I have nothing against penguins. The penguins was actually the best part. The penguin acted better than anyone else, except for Jonathan Pryce, and I have a soft spot for Jonathan Pryce. Consistently
awesome.
Great, but I was like, sweetie, if you need a paycheck, like, it's okay. Just, you could, and he can't phone it in because he's Jonathan Pryce. But I was like, why are you
What kind
here
of
then?
paycheck is he getting from this film?
You know, it keeps the lights on, Sebby. It keeps the lights on.
Yeah, it's like
in his mansion, I'm sure.
I think there are some constraints of it being based on a true story. So some of the tonal weirdness is unfortunately based in the fact that this teacher actually did find a penguin, and there was really a military coup happening in Argentina, and they wanted to try to tell this story, and I think they did the best they could. And I found it pleasant. I think it's a pleasant watch. And maybe there's some bias because I like Steve Coogan and I like the penguin and I like, private school kind of stories.
You love a private school story.
Yeah.
This is one of your tropes. Like, we have very different tropes that we're into. And I think I was talking in one of our previous episodes about a trope that you love what did we watch when we were in vacation recently? The Line?
Oh yeah, it was about, oh my god, this super dark film about the fraternities.
Which was really good, but then it had the kid from Jumanji, and that was confusing me slightly. But yeah, you love this private school thing where there's a dark underbelly.
Yeah, I mean, a little less relevant.
Fitzwilliam's here. Hello.
So, oh yeah, Kitty. Yes, talking about a penguin pet. I feel like the penguin get along with Fitz. Anyway,
similar levels of intelligence, possibly.
Okay, so to conclude, the fascist story in the background or sort of parallel, I think it actually endeared me to the film, even if it didn't tonally mesh as easily, because I was like, I'm in the mood to watch stuff about fascist threats. I can relate to that. It moves me in our current times.
Oh dear.
And I sometimes like a weird movie where the tone is unexpected. So I found it. I think it's a pleasant watch. It's heartwarming.
If you're into boarding schools and people being disappeared by the thousands and penguins, go and see The Penguin Lessons.